Welcome again to Kitchen Chemistry 2020. My name is Mr. Gridley and I'm going to be helping you through the Candle Lab. The Candle Lab is a lab that is normally done in the first week or two of school. And what we have here in front of us are two candles. One of them is sort of a reddish pinkish candle and one of them is sort of a white candle, a little bit thicker, all right? They're both made of the same substance and the Candle Lab asks a number of questions. If you were in a 4-level class, you would be asked to make as many quantitative and qualitative observations as possible. You might be asked the same question in a 2-level class, okay? In a 2-level class, you might be asked to do the same thing, but you'd be sort of given some guidelines and some hints about it. Needless to say, we're going to sort of walk you through as many quantitative and qualitative observations as we can. Quantitative has 2 parts. You should know those parts, okay? Both a number and a unit, okay? Qualitative observations don't have numbers and units, okay? People describe them in terms of numbers, but it's numbers and units, all right? So we look at a candle and we say, well, we can describe it, I apologize, qualitatively by looking at its appearance, okay? Smelling it, okay, maybe wafting the fumes to it, okay, describing if there's a scent to it, the texture for it, the color of it, okay, easy to throw, all right. Those would be good qualitative observations. If you had a bigger one right here, you might describe the same kind of thing, okay, white, the texture, the color, all right. Those would be qualitative observations. Once we get a tool out, we now can start to do quantitative measurements, okay. We can measure the height of the candle, all right. Now, I have this ruler, which is an interesting ruler, okay? This ruler marks the length of exactly 1 meter, okay? And then another side has it broken into decimeters, and another side centimeters, and another side millimeters, okay? The one we're gonna be most comfortable with is a centimeter side, all right? So here is a centimeter side, starting at the 0 milliliter mark here, and working all the way up to 100 centimeters, which equals 1 meter, all right? You might have a ruler that has 2 sides, but one of the sides has the inch side on it, all right? So there it is, okay, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're using inches, okay, that's nice, but it can only be used in this country, okay? The United States and Myanmar, formerly Burma, are the 2 countries that still use inches and feet. So please get in the habit of using the metric system. So let's measure the height of the candle and we'll record it, okay? So I'm gonna measure it on the centimeter side and I'm seeing it's just past a 9, but it's not quite at the 9.5. So I'm gonna say 9.4 centimeters tall. And this candle as well, okay? Looks like it's a little bit taller. It's 10, and it's a little bit past the 10, maybe 10.2, okay? Now the height of the candle is not consistent, so if you look at the candle carefully, okay, there's a little lip and you say, well, where do we take the measurements from? That's really for you to choose, okay? But there's gonna be a little bit of uncertainty as to where that value is. So when we say 10.2, a measurement of 10.3 might be fine, okay? As long as we're consistent in terms of where we're measuring the height from, okay? And notice I'm measuring it from the base, and on the bottom I have a container to collect the wax. I can also measure the diameter, okay, of the candle as well, okay? And in this case, it's about 2.1 centimeters, and the diameter of this one is 3.2 centimeters, all right? Now, given the height and the diameter, you might be able to calculate the volume. That's one way of calculating the volume of a candle. The other way of calculating the volume of a candle would be the water displacement technique, all right? So water displacement technique means you have a cylinder, you fill it up with some water, and then you dump the object in there. Water displacement technique is a great technique, especially for objects that are not regular, that are irregular objects. Now this is pretty much a regular cylinder. The bottom has a little bit of irregularity, but not too bad, all right? We record the volume of the cylinder with the water. we put it in, and then we record the volume of the water and the cylinder afterwards. Now, if we have a cat that decides to come into our video, we scooch him off. But if the candle gets wet, should we not be able to light the candle? We can. We just have to dry it off a little bit. So don't worry about getting the candle a little bit wet. It will still go ahead and light. So I recorded the volume originally, and then I record the new volume, but once again I run into another issue. I run into the issue of the candle is floating, okay? Is that quantitative or qualitative? Good answer. I'm not going to answer that. You should know that already. What you can do is you can push that down a little tiny bit, okay? So this might go ahead and give you a little better recording, because here, if you record the volume, that's the volume of most of the candle, not all the volume. And it's okay if that wick gets wet, we can dry it off and we can do it again. So record the initial volume and the final volume, and the difference, that is going to be the volume of just the candle. Now, if we record and if we get the volume of the candle using water displacement technique and using the formula, okay, we should come up with the same answer, but yet we don't oftentimes, okay? Now, why is that the case? There's going to be some uncertainty in your measurements, okay? When you said 2.3 centimeters, okay, was it 2.2 or 2.1? And as a result of that uncertainty, the answer should be close, but they might not be exact. Now, given this kind of container, we should do the same thing. Now, we want to be careful. We want to make sure that it fits, okay, inside of here, and then it can come out. So we'll use an appropriate size graduated cylinder. So let's not bother with that. Let's go ahead and light, okay? Oh, sorry, one more thing. We want to see when the candle's going to go out. Now, you don't want to sit and watch this video for the next 17 hours, okay, waiting for the candle to totally burn out. So what we can do is we're going to go ahead and determine the mass, and I have a balance here. So it's a little mini balance. Aren't these sort of nice and cute? And so I've got it here. So I'm going to take a look at it. It's a little hard to see. I can put it at an angle for you, but I still don't think you're going to be able to see the values. Nope. So the first button I'm going to press is tare to re-zero it. And then I'm going to weigh everything. Okay, I'm going to make sure that the candle is really nice and dry. I don't want any moisture to be on there. And this is nice and dry. I'm going to weigh everything before. 38.85 grams. I'm going to record that value on my sheet of paper. And then at the end, I'm going to record all of the mass afterwards, all right? And we can answer a simple question. Does mass increase or does mass decrease or does mass stay the same when you burn a candle? Now notice we're going to collect all the mass of the candle, all right? We can do the same thing as well with another one, my big white one. This one is 89.23, notice, 89.23.24. There's some variability. That last place is sort of a little bit of a guess, so 89.24 grams, okay? And that's the mass of the candle and the container, the little lid that's gonna collect all the wax. So we've recorded some information. We could also have recorded the height of the wick as well. So those are some of the things we could have recorded in our lab. Once we're ready, we're going to go ahead and light. Okay, getting a lighter, and we got a match here. Can you see the match? There we go. Okay, notice as long as I'm to the side of a flame, I'm okay. Okay, but if I get on top of a flame, that's bad news. So we'll light the candle, and we're going to record the time. So someone's going to record the time. Time, got it? Okay, great. We're going to record the exact time we start lighting the candle. And sometimes it takes a little bit of time for that to ignite. And we can hear that a little bit. That's some of that water that was on there. Now, once you're done with a match, okay, don't simply throw it into the garbage, okay? Also, don't throw it into the sinks, okay? The sinks are not the garbage. We'll take them, we'll get them wet, okay? Get it nice and wet, and then we're gonna throw this into the garbage can. All right, I'm gonna put the garbage can afterwards, right after I finish the video. So we have two candles. They're lit. We're going to come back to them in a few minutes and see what happens to their mass afterwards. They might increase, decrease, or stay the same. Now, while we're burning it, we can describe some qualitative observations and some quantitative observations as well. Qualitatively, we're seeing that there's a flame. We might see the flame is sort of yellowish in color. We might even be able to detect if there's a scent at all. Some people claim there's a scent a little bit of a candle, especially if you have a scented candle. But people have a hard time coming up with quantitative observations, all right, for a candle. One thing to measure, okay, is the height of the flame. Now, we get our meter stick, okay? We never want to be on top of a flame. We always want to be to the side of a flame. If you're to the side of a flame, okay, you're safe. If you're on top of a flame, you're not. It's very, very hot on top of a flame. There's an old expression about hot air and which way hot air goes. So as long as we're to the side of the flame, we're okay. We can go ahead and take an estimate about the height of the flame is maybe 3.0 centimeters. And the height of this flame is about 2.0 centimeters, okay? The red one's a little bit taller. So that's one. Oh, we can also measure, if we can measure the height, we can also measure the width of the flame, all right? The width of the flame here is about 0.9 centimeters and about 0.7 centimeters there. So we can measure the height and the width of the flame. Now, one thing that's tricky, and people often will ignore this, if we turn the lights out, the candles give off light, okay? The candles give off light and heat. That's something that we often forget. Many, many students forget that is the case. If we were to go back 100 years, people, the first thing they would write down is the candles give off heat and light. Now, another factor that people don't think about is, can I record where the heat goes, all right? Now, you don't want to put your hand into a flame, that's a bad idea. But if you put your finger to the side of the flame, okay, like this, it doesn't feel like anything. You could go just to the point where you feel the candle and the heat from the flame. And I'm feeling it about there, just barely feeling it. And then your partner can go ahead and measure that distance. So we can measure the distance between my finger and the flame as to when do I feel the flame, and then I feel the heat at about 1.5 centimeters, and then I can try to do the same thing moving down. And where do I feel? Oh, I feel the heat even this high, and I can measure the height there. Oh, I can feel it this high. And that might be 30 centimeters. So notice the heat does not go sideways, the heat goes up. If we said that we felt the heat 2 centimeters sideways and 30 centimeters above the flame, that means hot air rises by a factor of 15. It goes sideways 2 centimeters and up 30 centimeters. So we have a quantitative measurement showing and proving to us that hot air does rise. Now, one thing we're not going to do, we're not going to go put the balance. We're not going to go put this onto a balance. So here's our balance. We're not going to go put it on the balance right now, okay? We'll let it burn for a little bit of time, and those are just some of the nice observations we can take. We're going to collect all the wax afterwards, not some of it, but all the wax afterwards. So there's a little bit of a liquidy portion that we're going to record as well. There's a little bit of a blue that's sitting at the bottom of the base. The liquid portion might fall down, but it might sit on top of our metal base, and that's fine. So we're just going to let this sit and run for a few minutes. Couple of the fun things about candles, okay? One thing that might happen is you might have a candle like this, okay? And the candle is not burning very brightly. So this one, there we are, okay? If the candle flame is really, really low and it's almost about to go out, one little fun technique is to make it a little bigger, we want to expose more of the wick. How do we expose more of the wick? We're going to go ahead and pour out the wax, the liquid wax. We're going to pour it on top of our canister, our film canister, not a film canister, but our metal can, like this, collecting all of the wax afterwards, and then set it down again, okay? So we really haven't lost any wax, okay? We just simply have done this, and as a result of pouring out some of that liquid wax, we can go ahead and see more of the wick exposed. The wick that's exposed is now going to go ahead and give us a little bit of a bigger flame. I'm going to pause the video and let this run for about another 10 minutes or so, okay? But I'm going to let this run for a few more minutes, maybe 10, 15 minutes, and then we're going to come back and mass it in 10 to 15 minutes.